Just give me a moment here. Oh, well, there's Surabhi Kunj. Would you like to lead Kirtan? All right, no reply, so I will lead. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishnapastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pascharine. Sorry, I didn't know I would be doing this, so I'm trying to close up a bunch of windows so I have some. You can see what I'm doing here. Is what's on the screen okay?
Great.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astadarshata Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astadarshata Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Ki Jai. Yamuna Maya Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanand. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So there were some technical difficulties on our end here, so I guess I'm taking over hosting for the moment. Welcome everyone to Srimad Bhagavatam class with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami and friends. Today is October 30th, Monday, the year of our Lord 2023. And I do not know the text we are on. If someone can fill me in on that information, I can get it together to post it in the chat. Okay, Maharaj says it is third canto, chapter 25, text 24. I'm going to pull that up now. Okay, just a moment. Text 24. Okay. I will kick it off here, and then anybody else who would like to read can either chime in or say something in the chat box. Okay, this is from chapter 25, The Glories of Devotional Service, text 24. Daite sarva sadvi sarva sangha vivarjita sangaste teshvata te pratya sangadosha harahite. Translation. O my mother, O virtuous ladies, O virtuous lady, these are the qualities of great devotees who are free from all attachment. You must seek attachment to such holy men, for this counteracts the pernicious effects of material attachment. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Kapila Muni herein advises his mother, Devahuti, that if she wants to be free from material attachment, she should increase her attachment for the sadhus, or devotees who are completely freed from all material attachment. In Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, verse 5, it is stated who is qualified to enter into the kingdom of Godhead. It is said there, Nirmana Moha Jita Sanga Doshaha. This refers to one who is completely freed from the puffed up condition of material possessiveness. A person may be materially very rich, opulent, or respectable, but if he at all wants to transfer himself to the spiritual kingdom, back home, back to Godhead, then he has to be freed from the puffed up condition of material possessiveness, because that is a false position. The word moha used here means the false understanding that one is rich or poor. In this material world, the conception that one is very rich or very poor, or any such consciousness in connection with material existence, is false, because this body itself is false or temporary. A pure soul who is prepared to be freed from this material entanglement must first of all be free from the association of the three modes of nature. Our consciousness at the present moment is polluted because of association with the three modes of nature. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, the same principle is stated. It is advised, Jita Sangha Dosha. One should be freed from the contaminated association of the three modes of material nature. Here also, in Srimad Bhagavatam, this is confirmed. A pure devotee who is preparing to transfer himself to the spiritual kingdom is also freed from the association of the three modes of material nature. We have to seek the association of such devotees. For this reason, we have begun the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. There are many mercantile, scientific, and other associations in human society to develop a particular type of education or consciousness, but there is no association which helps one to get free from all material association. If anyone has reached the stage where he must become free from this material contamination, then he has to seek the association of devotees, wherein Krishna consciousness is exclusively cultured. One can thereby become freed of all material association. Because a devotee is freed from all contaminated material association, he is not affected by the miseries of material existence. Even though he appears to be in the material world, he is not affected by the miseries of the material world. How is it possible? There is a very good example in the activities of the cat. The cat carries her kittens in her mouth, and when she kills a rat, she also carries the booty in her mouth. Thus, both are carried in the mouth of the cat, but they are in different conditions. The kitten feels comfort in the mouth of the mother, whereas when the rat is carried in the mouth of the cat feels the blows of death. Similarly, those who are sadhava, or devotees engaged in Krishna consciousness in the transcendental service of the Lord, do not feel the contamination of material miseries, whereas those who are not devotees in Krishna consciousness actually feel the miseries of material existence. One should therefore give up the association of materialistic persons and seek the association of persons engaged in Krishna consciousness, and by such association, he will benefit in spiritual advancement. By their words and instructions, he will be able to cut off his attachment to material existence. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, welcome to everyone. And in this purport, the things that I noticed first, and I regret not having read this first because there's quite a lot in here, but it's the things I often notice when I read Prabhupada's purport is the level of repetition of certain terms. And Prabhupada mentions the word material, material energy. The word material is repeated a lot. Material miseries. And what really stood out to me was association, material association. So I don't have any Shastric references immediately in mind, but maybe someone can contribute one if they like. But it seems that I recall reading in a number of places that Prabhupada says material association is a most important factor in cultivating one's spiritual life and realization. And if we don't have the proper association, it's very, very easy to become, as Prabhupada says here, influenced by the modes of material nature. And just looking at it from a logical viewpoint, there is the whole material universe. There's oneself, spirit, soul, and then there's everything else, and not everything else is material. Of course, there's super soul, there's Krishna, but in terms of our consciousness, what's constantly bombarding us is the material energy. And so we're having constant association with that. And the antidote to that, because how can we fight back against it? It's overwhelming, of our own power. Our own bodies and minds are material. So, the enemy is within and without. So in order to protect ourselves and to become strong and cultivate our spiritual consciousness, we have to have some help. We have to have something to fortify us and protect us from this constant onslaught of the material energy. So that was what immediately came to mind when I was seeing so many times Prabhupada use the word material association, or association of the three modes of nature. And I have a question to Maharaj or anyone else who might want to supply an answer, that I was thinking, well, what's wrong with the modes of nature? It's not like the modes of nature. I don't know if they're personalized, if Maya Devi is a personification of modes of material nature, but modes are just qualities, and so I was wondering, what is it about the modes that make them bad association? It's not like you're associating with a sinful person, but what is it about the modes themselves? And there's tamas, rajas, and sattva, but those are qualities, those are energies. So I'm definitely trying to understand right now what it is about the modes themselves that make them dangerous association for somebody who's trying to become, I guess it's just they're very strong and they pull us into the material energy, or they're expressions of the material energy. Anyways, I'm looking at the purports. I can't see if there's anything in the chat box, but I will check that right now. There's 2 in the chat box. Okay. So my husband says in the chat, I'll read this one, but Surabhi Kunj Mataji, if you would like to, well, yeah, if you want to read it, go ahead and you can take charge of the chat if you're able. I'll just read it until you're ready to. When Srila Prabhupada says, because a devotee is freed from all contaminated material association, he is not affected by the miseries of material existence. It seems here that he means those actually devoted, since those merely attempting to practice devotion seem to sometimes be affected by material miseries. So that's a good point. First thing that comes to my mind is that we have material bodies, and those material bodies, yes, Maharaj says those effects are superficial. Maharaj says those effects are superficial. So the material body, okay. Surabhi Kunj says, I keep getting disconnected due to my unstable internet, so I'm unable to read anything. And Maharaj says, Anartopsanam Sakshat. I don't know the translation immediately to that, if someone else wishes to provide it. Anyways, we belong to our bodies belong to the material energy. So they're products of the material energy. They're influenced by the material energy. But Maharaj says it's superficial. That means those miseries are material miseries. And the material, okay, Maharaj says, as the translation, the material miseries of the living being, which are superfluous to him. Yes. So it's a question of identity. There's the body and then there's the self. So what did Jesus Christ said, what give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give to God what belongs to God. Maharaj also says that these miseries can be directly mitigated by bhakti yoga, which I believe I know what the word mitigated means, but I'm going to look it up just to get an accurate. So mitigate means to make less severe, serious, or painful. So that's it exactly. So we if we identify with the material energy, if we think we're the body, then of course when something bad happens to the body, we're going to suffer more than if we understand we're not the body and something bad happens to the body. Then it's like, okay, yes, I'm in this body, so I feel pain or illness or whatever, but this isn't me. And then furthermore, if you're engaged in devotional service, you're fully connected and aligned with that spiritual nature. And so, to use the example of Haridas Thakur, he wasn't suffering. He was being beaten, to death practically. And he was not suffering because he was not in material consciousness at all. Any other comments? Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj says, in the verse, the key word is Sangha, association. One has to become Sangha Vivarjita, free from material association. But at the same time, one must seek Sadhu Sangha, the association of devotees. That will help one get free from Sangha dosa, the nasty effects of material association.
When I was reading this verse, I was thinking of the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam again, first canto, second chapter. It goes, Sushrusho Shodadhanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syanmahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevanat. O twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. And Prabhupada talks about the qualities of these servants of God, how they should be respected as God by devotees who actually want to go back to Godhead. And he says, at the end of the purport, by serving the servants of the Lord, one gradually gets the quality of such servants, and thus one becomes qualified to hear the glories of God. The eagerness to hear about God is the first qualification of a devotee eligible for entering the kingdom of God. Such a nice verse.
Thank you. Prabhu, would you like to read the next verse unless there's more comments or questions from the members here? Oh, there's comments in the chat from Maharaj, continuation. In India, ISKCON is called Antarashtriya Sri Krishna Bhagavanrita Sangha. Antarashtriya Sangha, International Society. Saraswati, Surabhi Kunj says in the chat, wasn't Devahuti already attached to a sadhu, her husband Kardama Muni? Well, yeah, but he was no longer around.
One could say that by his association, she obtained the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Mm-hmm. It seems to me that that Kapila Muni is emphasizing how this needs to be constant, Let me go back to it and see what he actually says there. My mother, a virtuous lady, these are the qualities of great devotees who are free from all attachment. You must seek attachment to such holy men, for this counteracts the pernicious effects of material attachment. So attachment means constant. It's not that once you were attached and that's good for all time. Jayadvaita Maharaj says, and her attachment to him is the paradigmatic example of spiritual attachment. Maharaj, could you expand on that a little bit? Saraswati Mataji says, so shouldn't we protect body from violence, abuse from others? Of course. But what we have duties connected to this material body, we don't intentionally starve ourselves because, oh, I'm not this body. We have to eat, we have to sleep. We jump out of the way of speeding cars, but the attachment of the mind that I am this body, of the false ego that I am this body, that's different. Maharaj says, the Bhagavatam explains, she was attached to a sadhu just because he was her husband, but because he was a sadhu, she got the full benefit. So could we say that in one sense it was like an accidental attachment? In other words, she wasn't attached because he was a sadhu. I mean, I guess maybe to some degree she was, but primarily because he was her husband. Whereas to become attached to a sadhu because he's a sadhu, because you want transcendental knowledge, that's different. I mean, accidental in the sense that it wasn't the primary reason for her attachment. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Saraswati, do you require more answer to your question, or Panchatattva Prabhu, would you like to say something?
Looks Marai Gupta has a comment.
Hare Krishna, he says, can it be that material life becomes like a lucid dream where we are dreaming but aware that it's only a dream and so it's not a serious issue? I've had the same question. Because Prabhupada uses the example of dreaming, but then you come to Krishna consciousness and you're told you're dreaming, wake up. But you're still, it doesn't happen all at once. So how, and then I've thought of the example, like, for instance, you're in your bed and you're asleep and suddenly there's a police car or an ambulance outside with the siren blaring and you're having a dream, and in your dream there's a siren, and maybe all of a sudden you wake up and you realize, no, that's a real siren. So I was wondering if somehow, the lives of devotees are like that, until they're fully awake. Are they dreaming the material world, but the real world of Krishna consciousness is infiltrating the dream? That's a speculation on my part. Maharaj says, sort of a good example, but a bit complex. Yes, but a bit complex because lucid dreaming is a complex phenomenon. Yeah, lucid dreaming means when you control your dream, when you can consciously make decisions in your dream instead of just being swept along in the dream, and you're not in any control at all. So
Shall we continue?
Maharaj says how lucid dreaming is defined is variable. Yes. Yeah, there are probably different ways. Yeah, we can move on. Prabhu, would you like to read the next text?
Sure. Satam prasangan mamavirya samvidho bhavantirit karna rasayana kataha tajjoshanada swapavargavartani shudharatir bhaktir anukramishyati. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed, and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. Purport. The process of advancing in Krishna consciousness and devotional service is described here. The first point is that one must seek the association of persons who are Krishna conscious and who engage in devotional service. Without such association, one cannot make advancement. Simply by theoretical knowledge or study, one cannot make any appreciable advancement. One must give up the association of materialistic persons and seek the association of devotees, because without the association of devotees, one cannot understand the activities of the Lord. Generally, people are convinced of the impersonal feature of the absolute truth. Because they do not associate with devotees, they cannot understand that the absolute truth can be a person and have personal activities. This is a very difficult subject matter. And unless one has personal understanding of the absolute truth, there's no meaning to devotion. Service or devotion cannot be offered to anything impersonal. Service must be offered to a person. Non-devotees cannot appreciate Krishna consciousness by reading the Srimad Bhagavatam or any other Vedic literature wherein the activities of the Lord are described. They think that these activities are fictional, manufactured stories, because spiritual life is not explained to them in the proper mood. To understand the personal activities of the Lord, one has to seek the association of devotees. And by such association, when one contemplates and tries to understand the transcendental activities of the Lord, the path to liberation is open and he is freed. One who has firm faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes fixed, and his attraction for association with the Lord and the devotees increases. Association with devotees means association with the Lord. The devotee who makes this association develops the consciousness for rendering service to the Lord, and then, being situated in the transcendental position of devotional service, he gradually becomes perfect. So, this is the power of association. Adao Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangata Bhajana Kriya. And then on to Anartha Nivritti and so forth. It's simply by association of saintly persons. We get a little attraction or interest first, enough where Krishna is so kind, he qualifies that as faith. And from there, by the association of saintly persons, we get purified. There's a process of purification. We follow the instructions of advanced devotees and the spiritual master. And this process continues. And it's emphatically stated here that without the association of such devotees, one cannot make advancement. It's so dependent upon this kind of association. Everything depends upon the association of devotees, according to this purport. Otherwise, Prabhupada's saying here that even if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, without that association, without the guidance of pure devotees, we won't get it. We won't understand it. We'll think it's some fiction, some nice story. Oh, Krishna's lifting Govardhan Hill. Oh, isn't that lovely? He's dancing with the cowherd girls. Oh, what a nice story. And nothing more is there. There's no development of attachment. There's no development of a service attitude. There's no actual understanding of the position of the personality of Godhead and how we're eternal servitors. How we are meant to be enjoyed by Krishna and not vice versa. That just doesn't happen without the association of saintly persons. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj says, very important verse, often quoted. Thank you. If there's no comments or questions, shall we move on to the next one? Oh, Maharaj says, it would be worthwhile for us to read Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's purport also. That depends on my husband, and I'm not sure if he has ready access to that.
I'll try to look it up.
Oh, you have it
on this end, yeah, but I have to swim through the Kindle to get to it.
I like the line where it says they think these activities are fictional manufactured stories because spiritual life is not explained to them in the proper mood. I like that proper mood. I can still remember, and I'm sure I'm still full of them, but so many misconceptions I had as a new person. You know, somebody would be telling me something, and I would say, you know, whatever my concocted idea of you know, mythological, you know, ideas of spiritual life were, and I would get, you know, set straight immediately. And at first you don't like it because you think you know something, and then you gradually realize, no, they know what they're talking about and I don't. So there's uh something from my husband, Panchatattva Prabhu. You have the text?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll read the translation. It's very complimentary to the translation in our Srimad Bhagavatam. From association with the best devotees, topics of my glorious pastimes become directly realized, bringing the devotee to nishta. Then the topics become an elixir for the heart and ears at the stage of ruchi. By taste for these topics, asakti, bhava, and then prema for the Lord, who is the destroyer of material life, quickly develop in sequence. Commentary. Only by association with devotees does the mind develop attraction to the Lord. The stages are described here. The previous verse mentioned that association should be desired. Then faith first arises. From excellent, or association of the devotees, stories of my pastimes become nectar for the ears. From inferior association, there is only bhajana kriya, but the stories do not become nectar. Thus, from excellent association, the stories cause anartanivritti. Then those stories cause nishta. Those stories become directly realization, or samvidha, of my great qualities, virya. Those topics then produce ruchi. They're pleasing to the ear and heart. From the taste, or joshanat, of those topics, asakti, or shraddha, and then bhava, or rati, for the Lord, who destroys material existence, appears. Then prema follows in this order, bhakti anu. The bhakti explained by me will now be preached in the world following this sequence. That's what I have here.
Thank you. My husband also posted it in the chat. He finally pulled it up. Saraswati Mataji says in the chat, if sadhus and advanced devotees prefer association of like-minded devotees who may be more advanced, then how taxing it must be for them to educate and associate with neophytes who are like babies. Taxing? I don't know. I mean, the idea, Krishna wants us to preach. Krishna wants devotees to preach. So if they're fulfilling Krishna's desire, then they would be happy. As Maharaj says, Gosyanandi sadhus take pleasure in preaching. And he also said before that, anukrimishyati, step by step.
There's that example of a father taking pleasure in the child's taking small steps and gradually becoming strong to walk, or so many other different developments as the child grows up. Similarly, if an advanced devotee or spiritual master sees even their most neophyte disciple making advancement, they become happy. It's a source of satisfaction.
That reminds me of the pastime when I think Sanatana Goswami is telling the Lord how he feels foul, because he's got the skin condition, and he doesn't want the Lord to touch him. And there's Mahaprabhu says in response, I'm trying to find it real quick, but he says that you are like my child, and when the child passes stool and urine on the body of the mother, she's not disgusted by him. She takes the greatest pleasure in cleaning him up. So I imagine in some respects, we're all in the material world, we're all covered in stool, and the sadhus clean us up. Maharaj says in the chat, prasanga can also mean intimate association or powerful association, not just hanging out. Yes, there's various qualities of association. Yes, in the Antya Lila, chapter 4, text 187, the stool and urine of the maintained child appear like sandalwood pulp to the mother. Similarly, when the foul moisture oozing from the sores of Sanatan touches my body, I have no hatred for him. So the point being that the sadhus do not have disdain or hatred for us, even if we're not up to the standard. Murari Gupta says, are Srila Prabhupada's purports sufficient association, or is more required? And Maharaj answers, they're sufficient if we can realize them, but how do we do that? And if we read the purports, Maharaj says, the spiritual master is required. The association of devotees is required. No, I only need the books. Nope, Maharaj says. I remember one time I asked a sannyasi, I said, if everything is in Prabhupada's purports, why do I need a guru? I wasn't initiated at the time. And he says, the difference is that you can close the book. Maharaj, did you want to type something more, or shall we move on to the next verse? It looks like he's typing or thinking. I like Maharaj's comment about, okay, Maharaj says, every word of this verse is a class in itself. Yeah, these last two purports are so weighty. It's like his introductions to Bhagavad Gita and Caitanya-caritamrta and Bhagavatam. You could, those introductions themselves, you practically have everything you need, except association. Or Maharaj says, Rasayan, that which gives nectar. It also means a nourishing tonic. So that's from the from the text. Looking up the synonyms right now. Hritkarna Rasayana. Pleasing to the heart. And Maharaj says, as in Ayurveda, nourishing tonic to the heart and the ear. Murari Gupta Prabhu says, having taken initiation, are the books enough if our guru is no longer present? Maharaj says, I often observe in myself a certain mindset. An is this enough mindset. Have I met the minimum requirements? If so, great. But bhakti doesn't mean doing the minimum. It means doing more and more. Not just ticking the boxes. Anchatafa Prabhu, do you want to read that yourself?
Yeah, I just look at
I'm sorry, I'm just gonna interrupt you. Maharaj wrote one last comment. He says 16 rounds, tick. Mangalarti, tick.
My observation that disciples of Srila Prabhupada has his manifest pastimes are no longer there, but the observation I have of his disciples is that they still have strong desire to associate with devotees. And the ones who are strongly associated are themselves strong association for others. Yeah.
Right. Saraswati Mataji in the chat says, even with mundane knowledge, books are not enough to study alone and understand and get certificates because we need practical guidance too. And Maharaj says, I don't know if he's correcting Maharaj. And Maharaj also says, and who is it that only reads books? Well, that was my question. Are we living in a cave and only have books and we have no association whatsoever? Because if you're going to have any association, you might as well have devotee association and good, strong devotee association.
I also observe that sometimes there are different groups have formed of devotees who peel off with a different idea or something, that appears to be quite at odds with all the evidence found in the books, and they'll swear up and down that they're reading the books, but because they're lacking that association with actual saintly devotees, saintly persons, they've made up their minds to follow on this other course or this other path. They'll hold the Bhagavatam in high esteem, but somehow they're missing something. That's the risk.
Maharaj adds to, I only read the books and play soccer. My husband tells a story, which I practically have memorized, if he wanted to tell it, where first of all, Maharaj says the Goswamis relished associating with one another, which also reminds me of a question that Maharaj, he says here also, the books are realized in association with devotees. But there's a sort of famous story where Satsam Prasagna, where he tells Yamuna to stay in one place, and she says, but there's not a lot of association. He says, but you have a devotee there to associate with. So if you're like-minded, two are enough. And if you're not like-minded, it doesn't matter how many there are. So the point is to have quality association, not that you need to be surrounded by, mediocre or bad association because it's a lot of people. I was starting to say in response to Maharaj's am I doing enough question. My husband, do you want to tell that story of Tamal Krishna Maharaj, or shall I? Okay. So he was, I think, traveling with shelter, and he had a darshan with Tamal Krishna Maharaj, and he said, Maharaj, how do you know if you're serving Krishna enough? And Maharaj said, Bhakta Eric, if at the end of the day you fall into your bed unable to move, then you are serving Krishna enough. Murari Gupta Prabhu says, what is the important aspect of associating with devotees? Because devotees in Mayapur play soccer. Maharaj answers, kata, association for kata. Then Krishna's virya is realized. And Murari Gupta Prabhu says, thank you. Do we have time for one more, or shall we move into kirtan? Maharaj says, Machita mat gata prana, bodhya hayanta parasparam. Tasyanti cha ramanti cha. Oh, I'm sorry. Katayantas chamam nityam tasyanti cha ramanti cha. Okay. So I think we're ready for kirtan then. Just see who's here and maybe hasn't led kirtan in a while. Krishna Konteya Prabhu, I don't know if you haven't led kirtan in a while, but would you like to lead?
Yes.
Okay, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Itai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Brahmsa Parivrajacharya Astotar Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Brahmsa Parivrajacharya Astotar Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya, Savior of the World Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna, Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna, Gopinath Shamakun, Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Sri Navdvip Dham Ki Jai, Shri Mathura Dham Ki Jai, Shri Jagannath Puri Dhamma ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Yamuna Mai ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Samaveda Bhakti Vrinda ki jai. All glories to some of the devotees, all glories to some of the devotees, all glories to some of the devotees. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari. Thank you very much for the Kirtan, Krishna Kunteya Prabhu. And thank you everyone for joining us, and especially to Maharaj for adding his valuable insights via chat. Just a few short lines, but it really adds a lot. So thank you very much for being with us. And so we look forward to seeing all of you on Wednesday for another meeting of Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj and friends to read Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj ki jai. And Jayadvaita Maharaj friends and disciples ki jai. Amaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All right, Krishna. Oops. Something down here. Nice Vrindavan Darshan. Yeah, well, if there's no video, then I like to have something for the eye to look at. Hare Krishna. See you all on Wednesday.